Is that app?
Bottom left. There's audio. and
Okay,
then
yeah, the start video. Okay, I found it.
Click it.
We're out of practice.
Yeah,
It's
well,
good.
I think it's a new Zoom version.
There we go.
Yeah, it could be.
There we go.
Yeah, I'll run with that.
Thanks, Albert.
Uh,
Are all of the commissioners on camera now, or able to be on camera that are here?
Yep.
Okay, great. I think we could start the meeting though, right, Jess?
here's
Yeah, I think we're
Josh.
ready.
Okay, cool. Sorry about
Yep,
that.
I'm just texting. Chrissy is trying to get in, so give me 1 second.
No
Oh,
worries.
Chrissy, okay.
Um,
I think he has to
okay.
enable video for certain people.
Okay, she said she's in. They're steering her.
Risky, look down at the bottom left and look for the
Here she
audio
is.
and videos. Click that microphone. I mean, not the microphone. Well, yeah, microphone and the camera.
Okay, hi everybody.
Here she is. Whoa.
Start my video.
Now click the video on.
Okay, go.
There you
All
go.
right, we did it.
Awesome.
All right, so I'll go ahead and start. Today is the September 8th, 2025. This is the Historic Preservation Commission for a special meeting. And we'll have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Anderson? No, Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Beauchamp? No, Commissioner Bishop. Okay, good. Commissioner Berg?
Here.
Commissioner Haley?
Here.
Commissioner Keller?
Present.
Commissioner Whidden?
Here.
Commissioner Will?
Yes,
Thank
I'm
you.
here.
And I just want to note that Commissioner Anderson is here,
Oh, yes.
muted.
Sorry about that.
Thank you for
Here.
catching that. All right, and then our agenda tonight. Does anyone have any changes or amendments? Otherwise, we can have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for this evening.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, any comments from the public for things that are not on our agenda tonight? I see
Yes.
Fred is raising his hand.
Peter?
Peter, I'm sorry, Peter. It was under Fred.
Yeah,
Yes,
Fred's there too. But, Peter Stewart, Stewart Architecture. I live in Old Town. Just wanted to share a couple of things with you guys tonight. The first item is 616 Front Street, which I don't know if you're aware, but that property is listed for sale now. And it's a National Register property that's not locally landmarked. So any kind of thing you can do to persuade a preservation for that property would be great. Second thing is I've talked with Jess a little bit about the upcoming renewal of the historic preservation tax. And just we talked about ways to demonstrate the success of the program so far. And I think we should anticipate that, and there's lots of success. So there's a big story there. But at the same time, we still have to be cognizant that, there's going to be criticism that this is a tax paid by the many, but that benefit the few. So we need to develop a narrative that demonstrates the greater kind of public benefit. And which brings me to kind of another concern I have with the Historic Preservation Fund, that we could be spending more money on public benefit things such as interpretation or studies or more public outreach. Archaeology, I don't think we've done archaeology for like maybe 10 years, but anyway, so those are just some thoughts. And then the last item, and I've spoken to a few of you guys about this, was the Colorado Heritage for All project, which is a request from History Colorado. They are seeking, for the 150th year anniversary of Colorado, they are seeking 150 new state registered places and spaces that are underrepresented on the state register. And hopefully Louisville has something to contribute in that respect. And I think we should, and there's probably lots of potential out there. I've talked to the museum folks a couple of years ago, and we had some momentum, but then it got sidetracked. But anyway, I'm certainly willing to pick it up with somebody if somebody wants to work with me on that. And that's all of my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, Andy Johnson has his hand up.
Trying to, oh, there we go. Good.
Great. Okay, thank you. This is Andy Johnson, Louisville resident. I would like to reiterate the things that Peter mentioned just now. Something to add to the properties that are for sale on Front Street. They have some unique characteristics that we don't oftentimes see in projects around the Old Town overlay, in that they are actually within the boundaries of the Downtown Design Handbook, which means that they're zoned CC, so they're commercially zoned. And I think that there are some unique opportunities there that might get overlooked if they are if the owners or realtors or prospective buyers are not reached out to directly to go through the program. So I think that's all I had to say. All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
All right, any other public comments?
No one else has their hand raised.
All right. So we'll move on to our public hearings. Our first one is for 1040 Lafarge, and we'll have a staff presentation.
All right, can you see my screen okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. My name's Jess Daniels. I'm a senior planner for those on the call that are public. And this first case is a demolition review for 1040 Lafarge Avenue. It's located at the corner of Lafarge Avenue and Short Street. So this is just a brief summary of the request. In terms of the demolition aspect, the demo request is to remove the eastern addition of the house. And this addition was added after the preliminary construction of the house in 1912. So it's not original, but it does have some historic significance. Remove the concrete steps and the porch, which are located on the south side. Remove and replace all the windows. Remove the chimney. And then some new aspects of this project are a new concrete foundation and basement for the existing structure, a new one-story addition at the rear of the property, a new deck, and a new one-car garage with a studio to be used for home office use on the second level. So this image on the left shows the portions of the home that are proposed to be demolished in red or replaced in terms of the windows. And then the right is a site plan that was submitted with the application. So these photos show the property over time. The left is a photo of 1040 Lafarge from the 1948 county assessor card. And then on the right is a present day image of the property. So the home's maintained its historic footprint since at least 1948. It's only had minor exterior work, such as a re-roof and replacement of the siding. The windows are thought to be original, and there was a shed at the rear of the property that was released by a demo review earlier this summer. So the property is not currently landmarked, but it was approved for probable cause in 2024, and a historic structure assessment was completed in 2024 as well. So the property does meet some criteria for landmarking, including its age. It's about 113 years old. Its social significance includes Italian immigration history, entrepreneurship in Louisville, and political involvement from residents who have lived at this property. And as mentioned, it has maintained its original building footprint, and it's also significant in terms of its distinct pyramidal and hipped roof style and front gabled entry.
Recording in progress.
So staff analyzed the proposal against all demolition review criteria and found that it is eligible for landmarking. There has been some new infill and new construction in the area, so it may not be a potential contributing structure to a historic district. However, it is located in the Old Town overlay. An HSA has been completed and the property is generally in good condition. And then a project cost wasn't included as part of this application, and the proposed work includes mostly new construction. It was listed in the Stories in Place report as an example of a very distinct pyramidal or hipped roof with a smaller front gabled roof or entry on the side. These properties are typically underrepresented in the Barclay Place subdivision, and it's one of 5 examples of this style of home located on the same block. It was surveyed in the architectural inventory that Paleo West completed, and it's not listed in the 2000 Colorado Cultural Resource Survey. There was one public comment received in support in relation to the design from a neighboring property owner, and staff recommend releasing the demolition review request for the reasons that the eastern addition is not part of the original home, though it does have some historical significance. The front facade is not affected. The social significance alone doesn't merit a stay of demolition. And the applicant has been informed of preservation options, and they don't wish to seek landmarking at this time. And there's no additional time needed to document or salvage materials. I'm available for questions, and I know that Josh from DAG Design is on the line as well to give a presentation as well.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
No. No.
No.
Okay, I'll stop sharing, and if we can give Josh access to share. I believe he had a presentation. Or maybe it was Andy. Andy, are you giving the presentation tonight?
So both Josh and I are on. I'm going to do a brief intro, and then Josh is going to run through the presentation. So I'll get started here in a second.
Perfect. And if you'll just state your name and place of residence, even though you've already done it today, but just one more time for us. Thank you.
Okay. As Josh is getting connected as a panelist, I'll do a brief intro. My name's Andy Johnson. I'm with DAJ Design here in Louisville. We've been really lucky to be able to work on this really cool home. We got to do the historic structure assessment and have been since working with our clients who I believe are also at least present and listening. And we'll be speaking for the project, although if anybody has direct questions for the owners, we can unmute and they can become available. So, with that, we are pursuing a little bit out of the box project. This is going to look really similar to past projects that we've done. We're just not pursuing landmarking. So, as you know, DAJ Design we are very big advocates for the Historic Preservation Program. We do go to great lengths to explain the program, its benefits and opportunities. And this is a project that is pursuing preservation of the home, just not going through the program. So that's the out of the box part. The rest of it is actually pretty exciting. We're really excited to share the design with you and answer any questions that you may have. So hopefully by this time, Josh has been able to join as a panelist and can load up the presentation and get started.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, it won't let me share. It just says disabled share. If you can allow me to do that, Jess.
I see your presentation popping, or at least your name's big.
Analysts. So that should enable you to share, I would think. Try now.
Okay. There we go.
We're on.
Okay. Great. You can see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So this will be just a little supplemental information to what Jess already shared. So you're looking at the 1948 Boulder County Assessor's Card image. And today the house is relatively unchanged other than the landscaping that obscures a lot of it. Jess had a better picture, but in general, the house is the same as it was in 1948. And that includes the footprint of the house. And this is showing that footprint today in 1948 and where it sits on the site. However, the eastern 12 feet of the house is an addition that was added prior to 1948. And our proposal is to remove just that portion of the house, keeping the original footprint as well as the original covered front porch. These images that you already saw show what that demolition would look like in 3D, with the red areas showing what we are proposing to remove. We know that this is an addition because you can see the original east-facing aspect of the roof within the attic space. And those are the two pictures that you're looking at here, where you can see the wood shingles that would have been original. And those pictures are looking at the roof at this location and this location within the attic. We also know that it was an addition because there is a seam in the foundation, which this picture is showing, and that is located right here. Our proposal, once we remove that east addition, is to take the remaining part of the house and the covered front porch and temporarily move it to the eastern end of the site. And then during this time, we will pour a new concrete foundation for the house and the addition. The current foundation is in disrepair and needs replaced. This is what the site plan looks like once we move the house back to its existing location. That is the light shade of gray. And then to the east is our proposed addition surrounding a new deck. And then a 2-car garage on the eastern edge of the property that faces north towards Short Street, with a studio above the garage. So we have a couple of renderings that show what you're looking at right here would be the house, the original part of the house, with the addition beyond, as well as that 2-car with studio garage above. So this is looking kind of from the corner of Lafarge and Short Street towards the house.
Short.
This is another rendering looking to the north side of the house with the garage, studio above. Another one just down the street a little bit. And this would be looking at the south side of the house. And you can see the deck that we are proposing, and then the stairs up to the studio space above the garage. And I can answer questions, and I do know that Chris is online, the owner, to answer questions as well.
Great, thank you. All right, any questions for the applicant?
I believe when we went through this before, as far as the initial presentation, it called out a 1-car garage, but it looks like a 2-car garage. Not that I think it really matters on there, but it does appear to be a 2-car garage, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Has the existing garage already been removed?
Yes.
Right, any other questions? Oh, go ahead.
No, I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
I've got one question. I'm just curious why the applicant decided not to pursue preservation or landmarking. It appears that there's no need for additional lot coverage or floor area, but certainly some grant monies could be available for the project.
I'm happy to answer that, Chris. If you would like to also answer that, unmute yourself. Either way is fine.
I'm Chris. Yeah, like you said, we went through the plans and we realized we didn't need the additional lot coverage. And so it just came down to a question of accepting kind of the grant money, but potentially in our eyes, having some restrictions in the future for the property, or at this stage, keeping the property within these designs, but just not going through the preservation. We value the preservation of the original home, and we wanted to keep it that way. But we ultimately, if we could avoid it, didn't want to be kind of restricted in the future for what the house could be, or for what it, potentially could turn into.
Thank you. All right, any other questions for the applicant? All right. Any comments from the public? We have 2 hands raised. We'll do Fred first. Do you want to state your name and city of residence?
Fred Berkelhammer, Louisville. I live in the house to the south. And first of all, I want to say I worked for Chris Fuller, and I talked to him before, maybe 6 months ago, something like that. And I expressed concern because at the time he said he was going to scrape. So my basic attitude is, thank you, Chris. That's great that you're going to leave the historic part of the house. And I'm in no way antagonistic to this project. I am an arborist, and maybe this part should have come when Peter Stewart spoke at the unrelated public concerns. I've been called out for decades to look at trees that are dying on sites where the roots were cut or the grade was changed up or down. In other words, cutting off roots or adding to the grade and burying roots and suffocating the tree, or the soil was compacted. And it's important to know that people call me up and they want me to sprinkle some kind of magic pixie dust on their tree and make it come back to life. But what I always say, and I'm kind of a wise guy, is, well, let's go back in time 5 years and change the site plan. And so I'm concerned about the site plan on this project. I looked at where the property marker is, and I read the plan that you posted on the city website. And there's 2 parts of it that I'm concerned about: preserving the trees between our houses. And one is the setback, it says 5 feet from the property line. I think that's correct, right, Andy?
Yeah, the minimum setback is 5 feet. That's just that's the line that gets drawn. The house is slightly in a different position than that.
Okay, thanks. And this is what I've observed. It doesn't matter where the foundation is. What happens is there's an overdig in order to set the forms for the foundation. So it matters where the overdig goes to, how far out you have to dig to get workers in the trench or whatever you call it to set the forms for the concrete. So I'm afraid that at 5 feet, there will be a significant cutting of roots on the trees between our houses. So that's the first concern. The others would be compaction if there are going to be machines running down that stretch. And I would encourage, this goes to the builder, I guess, but maybe the architect has influence for the homeowner, is to not run machines down that little strip between our houses. They're only, I don't know, maybe 10 feet away from each other. It'll compact the soil and the trees will suffocate. And number 3 is grade changes. And I read the part on page 30, I think, where it said there should be a drainage, grade drainage. I forget what you called it, but and I'm concerned that might involve both adding to the grade up against the foundation, which would bury roots, and possibly cutting into the grade out from the house to get an adequate grade. But overall, the design looks great, and we appreciate that it's 1 story. And I just have one question on the not designating it for historic, whatever the language is. And Chris said, well, we want to leave our options open for the future. I'm kind of wondering what those might be. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Yeah, I suppose coming back in on that last point, yeah, there's obviously no plans for the future at this stage at all. This is a far into the future kind of idea. But yeah, for now, my wife and I moved to Louisville a couple of years ago. We have a young daughter. Our intention is to be here for a long time. Yeah, with what I said about keeping our options open for the future, that is 20 years time. Who knows what the situation of anything is, and just the more options at that stage, the better. But yeah, there is absolutely no kind of intention for it to be anything other than what this design is.
Thank you. And then we have one other public comment from Don and Barbara. And if you can just state your name and city of residence.
This is Don McKee. I live at 1045 Lafarge, directly across the street from the house. Am I connected here, or?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
I didn't know whether I was. My concern, I care about what the neighborhood is like, and I'm seeing sorry to offend the architect, but the addition is entirely inconsistent with the existing house. It disrespects the architecture of what's there. It is so radically different. And looks like a carbuncle to me. So I don't suppose my comments can change anything here, although I have a suspicion, and that is that this opening for the future is that the future is to tear down the front to make it consistent with the back. Sorry to be kind of nasty here.
Thank you. All right, any other public comments before we bring
Is
it
it
back?
worth me coming back into that?
Please.
Sure.
I feel like potentially I just misspoke in my first answer a little bit on why we decided not to go to preservation. I assure everyone in this meeting now, there is no plans to change the existing structure. I value the history of the building, and we intend to keep it exactly as it is.
Thank you.
And did Fred raise his hand again, or is that previous?
No, that's me again. Is that allowable?
Sure.
Briefly, years ago, Paul Weissman lived 2 blocks south of me here, and he told me, I thought this was interesting, that his house is built on his neighbor's property, that there was an accumulated error in the original platting or whatever, the surveys were off, and the area accumulated by the time you got about 6 blocks south of South Boulder Road. So there's a stake outside marking our property line. Is that now grandfathered in, or are we possibly looking at the wrong property line there?
Andy, do you want to speak to that? Or now you have your hand up. I don't know if.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Hurley. I'll address a few things. So, Fred, I don't know if I can speak necessarily to the property line. However, with all the work that has been done in Louisville, surveyors now have a much more effective way to tie properties to what they call the real world. So these are property corners that are geolocated, surveyed in, and exact. There are a lot of funky qualities about Old Town fences, property lines, etc. When at times when lot lines and different elements were not necessarily done the way we do them now, and they were kind of more rule of thumb and kind of good enough. And so I don't know if I can speak to exactly your question, but if that's something that you would like to discuss offline, I'd be happy to do that with you. In regards to the topic of whether someone wants to landmark or not, there is general perceptions around landmarking as perceived as like a conservation easement. Now, while they're not the same, they do present an in perpetuity that isn't always as appealing to a property owner, whether grant funding is available or not. You know, there are circumstances that just we don't have control over in terms of a value system around what is important or not. And I think we can all respect that one's property rights around how they want to use their property or value certain city programs, that is their own business. And you know, while Chris is not taking advantage of the historic preservation program, he is doing everything he can to make sure that that original building is saved, and I think we can honor that. In terms of architectural style, it's like picking clothes. So whether or not we feel it is appropriate or not is sometimes a subjective matter. When you look at the Department of Interior standards, and all the commissioners know this, it is our responsibility to have a certain marker of time that doesn't necessarily recreate the history and blend in perfectly with the old house. While I understand to a larger public sense that might not be intuitively what you would expect. However, it is part of historic preservation that that the way we touch and address new buildings is that we do it in a way that identifies new and old. And it's important that we do that, because if we recreate history, we create a false sense of history. And that's not within the integrity of historic preservation. Whether you like it or not is a matter of your own opinion. And I think we can all agree that there are homes we like and homes we don't like. And so, you know, aside from the feelings that it may create within a neighborhood, I think that that's just a general sense of how we live in our community. We did get a very complimentary response from another neighbor right across the street, you know, with a varying opinion on its appropriateness. So anyway, I don't want to belabor the public comment process. I think that the last point I'll make is that around grading, around placement of buildings, this one is unique in that it has a downhill front to back grade that allows us to pull that building out of the ground a little more, decreasing the impact of the basement and its excavation. Keep in mind that when we are digging close to other property lines, that there are requirements for shoring, for example, that minimizes the impact both structurally for neighboring properties as well as safety for workers in those environments. That helps to mitigate and decrease the impacts that it also has on items like trees, fences, etc. I am fully confident that whichever contractor is selected will be delighted to work with neighbors around preserving trees as best as possible. And that is a priority. This is something that we have considered on all of our past projects. To obvious varying degrees of success, it's sometimes difficult with the scope of construction, but it is definitely a strong priority. So with that, I'll close, and we're still available to answer any other questions. So thank you.
All right. Looks like Jeff's going to conclude our public comment section. We will bring it back for discussion with the commission.
I can appreciate some of the comments that we heard tonight. Obviously, being adjacent to another property, you know, as much care and everything that they can take to leave everything intact and have as little impact as possible, it would be great. And I would encourage whoever is doing the construction to go that route. If we look at the proposed building, you know, again, we have more of like a primary and a secondary facade that's going on here. We have the primary facade that's on the main street there, and then the secondary one that's on the side street as well. I think it's, you know, honestly a win to have somebody that's willing to come in and preserve the original structure. You know, it would be nice if the addition was blended in pretty darn well, and you know, feels like it is part of the house, but I understand it not being. And I think, you know, of all things, with some of these houses that we have in Louisville, if people are coming in and they are preserving the main structure, I think that there's a certain element of you know, flexibility and items that we have to be cognizant of on the rear tertiary facade and other items that are going on there. I will say I've gone through multiple historic preservation projects, and it is definitely something that you're trying to make the new addition of a different time frame and definitely distinguishable. This one is easily distinguishable, whether or not it's somebody's choice of aesthetics that's open to interpretation. But I can respect that you can definitely see the different age and identities of the different structures I appreciate that the addition is not overbearing as far as like massing and scale on the site. And just kind of speaking to a few things that came up during public comment.
And I think considering that the applicant has gone through all the steps at this point, as far as the HSA and understanding our program and all that, I think that their plan is actually in line with our program, even though they're not choosing to participate. So I really appreciate that. The massing of the addition, the amount of the original that they did keep, all those things I think they didn't have to do that. And they didn't have to keep the original building. So I think some of our curiosity as to why they didn't choose to do the landmarking is probably more just for our own self-evaluation, I think. So it's not even necessarily being super nosy or criticism even, but it is our job to kind of understand our program as far as how incentivizing it is and why someone wouldn't choose. So I think hopefully we didn't come across as too prying, but more of just kind of doing some research as to maybe why someone didn't choose the program, even though they're following the guidelines so well. So anyway, so I think I'm very appreciative that the design, because at this point, we really don't have a lot of say if they choose to go this route. So we can put a stay on it, but I think we know that they've already exhausted all those. I think this was kind of a final conversation just to make sure that we're all kind of understanding. So anyway, I just am very appreciative of the design and the following the guidelines, even though you didn't have to. So I think I'm in support of releasing it. It's obviously we would love it if it was landmarked and we could give them money or not or whatever. But I think in the grand scheme of things, I think this is definitely a win project under these circumstances. So
I wonder if, go ahead, Marty, you popped on there first.
Thank you. I was just going to follow up and ditto exactly what Josh and Linda just said. I think I I can speak for everybody in that we would love to see this project landmarked. But with that said, I think what's being proposed is exactly what we would like to see if it was landmarked. I think they've done a great job preserving the original structure, even though the rear 12 feet, in my mind, is original, even though it wasn't built at the same time. It's well over 75 years old, but it was done in such a way that it blended with the original roof line and was just an extension of the original home. But removing it, and to the neighbors' comment across the street, I can understand their concern, but at the same time, as it's been mentioned, it's important to delineate the original structure from the new addition, and that's exactly what's being proposed. These corner lots, we take a special look at to make sure both the front and the adjacent side elevations look appropriate. And from the front, the original home is going to stand out just like it does today. And from the north side, again, you're going to clearly delineate the old from the new. And I think it's a great example of what can be done with these historic homes to save them and still take advantage of modernizing and adding on to them. So I'm fully in support of releasing the demo application as well.
I agree with the things the other commissioners have said. I also appreciate that when this work is being done, it is with the back portion being removed from 1948, it will actually show more of the pyramidal shape, which is the original shape. And it is a really unique structure design for Louisville. There are only a few in town. So it will actually show that off more, which I think is a win with the work being done, because certainly you could have changed the back of that house with the new addition using different materials that are more modern. I'd also encourage the homeowners to just keep an open mind for landmarking in the future. The program will be here, so if anything changes, you can always come back. Be an easy thing to do. We'd love to see that happen, but understand, of course, if you're not interested right now.
And I was going to say, kind of piggybacking that, is just making sure that for the future, major changes don't happen to the original, so that a future owner could landmark it if they wanted. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you change too much at some point of the original, then it would lose some of its architectural integrity. So
I'm wondering, how do I get on there? Am I on?
You're on.
You're on.
All right. I'm wondering if, obviously I agree with the fact that we cannot take away anybody's property rights and say you've got a landmark. It is our job as commissioners on this Historic Preservation Commission to try to help make sure that the property owners have fully examined the pluses and minuses. And I'm wondering if some of the discussions that have come out tonight might help Chris and his wife to think further about saving this structure forever without leaving it open for 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, whatever a new homeowner might want to do. This is an ideal time to do it. If we did put a partial stay, maybe not a full 6 month stay, and Chris, I would personally invite you to look at a few of the projects that are very similar to what you've done with a historic property, then a very today's world addition. I have 2 of them on Rex Street, and I would be more than happy to show you and your wife some things that I've done and discuss personally the historic preservation decisions that I made to landmark. And I'm sure there's other people in town that Andy, since he is so involved in so many of these projects, maybe you've already been steered to some of those other folks and looked at their projects. And get a little more feeling from the heart of what landmarking does for our community and why we as commissioners volunteer our time to try to help persuade or at least make sure that people have fully weighed out all their options. And I know I may be speaking out of place because this is something that was stated in the application that you have examined the different options, but I just want to put it out there that as the only thing we do have to try to make a final push to help convince is to put a stay on the project. I don't know what other commissioners feel about a shorter term stay to try to give some more time to help the Fullers possibly reconsider before they get going too far. And then my big concern, as you said, Christy, that you could always come back at another time to do it. But my concern is more making sure that the Fullers realize that there is an opportunity for potentially really good size amount of grant money to help with a project like this, because it's such a cool project. And it is exactly, as everyone else has stated, the type of thing we'd like to help with. It just gives us one more amazing project to point to of what historic preservation and landmarking can do for a property. That's my 2 cents.
I was wondering if it was appropriate to mention what we discussed at our last meeting as far as our grants and the potential of our grants increasing fairly significantly here in the near future. I don't know if that would help sway the property owner to reconsider
That can be a staff question.
Yeah, I can chime in on that. I think it is definitely appropriate to bring up that we're looking at updating our grant program and those amounts that haven't been updated since 2019. The agenda and staff report is public. And we know that that program will be implemented in January. So I think it's very appropriate to say that we're expecting those amounts to increase in the near future.
And so that would mean basically if they were to do that, they'd probably wait to landmark until January. Would that be correct? To take advantage of the new, if they.
Yeah, I think even with the process of landmarking and that timing, it might even just fall naturally to occur in January in the new year as well. So that is coming in the near future.
Okay. And I guess that's a question for the applicant. Have you seen the new grant amounts and kind of what is going to be rolling out? Can you, just to make sure we've covered our bases?
Yeah, I'll respond to that. All of our clients are always aware of current things going on with the HPC. I think that obviously after we have this meeting, we'll spend some time debriefing and processing. Definitely really appreciate all the comments. I think the commissioner's dedication to the program and furthering the encouragement of landmarking is great. I think as we get closer to understanding how the next generation of this program is going to evolve, certainly we can process that with Chris and Kendall directly. I don't think that if I can speak for them directly, that it's not the enticement of the money into the program. It is really just the pure wish to preserve this home, regardless. And as a number of the commissioners have mentioned, this is a big win. And while it's not, you don't get to have the full feather in your cap, it's still a big win. So I think with that, I would encourage the group to move to a motion and then just trust that the process will unfold as it needs to, and that if this comes back before the commission as an application for a landmark and grant fund, then you will know that you did more than your job, and also the appreciation for all that was shared. But even so, I think that what was expressed earlier is true. Both Chris and Kendall really appreciate the historic nature of Louisville. They want to celebrate that, whether or not they have a plaque on their house or not. So, those are all real big positives in our book. So.
And I'll just speak to, I would not be in favor of a stay. I think the applicant has definitely spent time on all the pieces of our program. And I think it's, I think putting a stay on it at this point, if they have all the information. And so even, talk about the increased grants amount, maybe that's something that they might circle back and kind of talk about together. I think they'll still have opportunity to change the mind if they wanted to, whether it's now, like in the recent or semi-recent or
distant
future. Thank you. But I think we've definitely pleaded our case plenty, and they've been receptive, and I think they've been shown that they understand our program as far as their design and commitment to keeping they're basically investing a lot in this property to do exactly what we would like them to do. So anyway, that's my personal opinion. Is I don't think we need to stay. I think we've done our due diligence, and I think we can trust the process and be thankful that this was the outcome versus what it could have been. So that's my personal opinion on this one.
Yeah, and I wanted to just chime in and say I agree with Linda. I would also not be in favor of a stay. I think the spirit of what they're doing is in alignment with our preservation program, and that's something to admire. And I agree that it's a win. And with that in mind, I'd like to make a motion to release the demolition request for 1040 Lafarge Avenue.
I'll second it.
And we'll do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Anderson?
I'm assuming that was Anderson. I didn't hear.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Beauchamp?
Yes.
Commissioner Berg?
Yes.
Commissioner Haley?
Yes.
Commissioner Keller?
Yes.
Commissioner Whitten?
Yes.
Commissioner Will?
I'll go out on a limb and say no.
All right. Yeah, thank you for being here tonight, and we look forward to seeing how the program or how the project progresses. And if you change your mind for any reason, we're here. So just remember that. Thank you so much. All right. And then our next item is 813 Main Street. And we will have a staff presentation for this one.
Okay, so this is the presentation as mentioned for 813 Main Street demolition review. It's located at the intersection of Main and Spruce Street next to the Waterloo. This request was flagged through a building permit, and the scope of the request is to replace all the windows, replace the front entrance door, repair some of the siding, trim, and repaint the facade, and then reface the non-historic awning that's over the front entrance with cedar. So these are a number of photos that show the condition of the building over time. It has maintained its original footprint since at least 1948, but most of the facade is currently not historical. There are no building permits on file, but the windows have been replaced since the Boulder County Assessor photo in 1948. The windows are now much smaller and a reduced size in terms of their height, as shown by the photo on record. The door has been replaced at least twice in comparing the photo from 1978 and the 1948 photo to the current photo. And some of the detailed ornamentation on the false front has also been removed. As I mentioned, a non-historical awning has also been added over the front entrance. And the siding has been replaced at least twice, as shown by the photo from 2007 submitted by the property owner that's on the left. So currently, presently, the photo of 813 Main, as it exists today, is in the bottom right hand. So it is in need of some refreshing on the exterior. So in considering the criteria for landmarking, the property meets the age requirements as it's approximately 119 years old. It's maintained its false front and gable roof characteristic of a downtown commercial structure, but most of the original facade has been replaced, including the windows. And as I mentioned, their footprint's been reduced, the door, the siding, and the addition of non-historic features, including that front entrance awning. It is socially significant due to its location on Main Street and association with notable businesses, including a mercantile shop and others that were significant to Louisville over time. So staff analyzed the proposal against all the demolition review criteria and found that the property does meet landmark eligibility. It could be a contributing structure to a historic district as it's located on Main Street, and it's also in the downtown overlay. An HSA has not been completed, but it is presently occupied for office space by the applicant, indicating that it's in reasonably good condition. And a cost estimate was not provided for this work. So this property is listed in Stories in Place in the commercial context report as an example of a traditional storefront and false front commercial building that are typically found in downtown Louisville. It was not listed in the 2000 Cultural Colorado Resource Survey, and it was also not featured in the architectural inventories that Paleo West completed. There were 2 public comments received in advance for this demo review. Most of them were focused on the design associated with the historic facade, but they also commended the property owner for making some improvements to the exterior. However, the purpose of this case is to review the demolition only, not the design review. And so for that, staff recommend releasing the demo request as the current windows, front door siding, and awning are non-historic. The applicant has been informed of preservation options and does not wish to pursue landmarking at this time. And no additional time is needed to document or salvage materials. As mentioned, those elements that are to be replaced are non-historic. And the applicant is on the call, but did not wish to give a presentation. So I'll open it up to the commissioners for any questions.
All right, thank you. So any questions for staff?
No.
And then if
Sorry, I just have a
Oh,
question.
sure.
I was curious about the brick that was shown in the 2007 picture. It sounds like the false front, which is maybe above that brick, that is still there. And I'm wondering if the brick, if we know or believe maybe the brick was original, it's been sided over a few times.
Yeah, it's unknown at this time because the historic structure assessment hasn't been completed. So there very well could be original materials under the siding, but we just don't know. The property owner, who's different from the applicant, thought that the brick was not original, but again, without that HSA, it's really hard to know for sure.
Okay.
Could someone please help remind me or explain briefly why this is a demolition review request? It doesn't really look to me as it's the significant portion of anything being demoed. It's replacement products. And since this is not landmarked property, is there even I'm a little confused as to the requirement for the demolition review.
It's
I think
any
it's because-
alteration to the facade requires a demo review.
Everything on the facades?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's a good question. It sounds really dramatic when you see the demolition review.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
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 But I think it's more of like a part of the building is being demolished to some extent, if that makes sense. Like the roof, if they're taking off the roof, it's being demolished, even though it's not really being demolished, but but a window being taken out and like removed counts as like being demolished. So, but the whole thing isn't. So it's kind of confusing. And I guess my question, it looks like they're replacing windows for the same size openings.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for staff? All right, and I'll open it for public comment. I have a couple, I have one, Peter Stewart has his hand up.
Hello, Peter Stewart again, Louisville resident. Yeah, this is a little bit of a tough one in terms of process. I mean, I think, it's true that we aren't losing historic fabric by what's being requested if we're just kind of replacing windows and replacing non-historic siding. But I guess the bigger issue is that it's got so much potential for a preservation project, for restoring, its historic character based on the photos from like 1913, 1948. So if there's any way to leverage that, that would be wonderful. Certainly in terms of the criteria, it certainly meets the eligibility for landmarking. It's in an area that could be a historic district, so there's every reason to say, well, it could be a contributing structure to a district or to the street. And you kind of hate to see a more non-contributing alterations happening when it could be done the other way or a more appropriate way. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Andy Johnson has his hand up.
I'll take video off as well, since I still have that permission. So Andy Johnson, Louisville. I did write a letter in support of preservation for the building. I know this building probably a little better than maybe I should in some ways, but have studied it intensely with the work that was done on 809 Main. The brick was obviously not original, and it was added sometime in the late 60s, early 70s for some reason, which was probably just to add durability to that front Main Street facade. It wrapped the State Mercantile Building, 809 Main, and 813 at that time. 813 had it removed. 809 recently had it removed, and the State Mercantile Building still has remnants of it, but mostly was preserved. In terms of the process of a demo review, obviously any improvement to a building is a positive, and any opening of a building to Main Street is a positive. This building has gone from a very extroverted building to a very introverted building, and that has been in place for over 50 years. It is essentially a non-contributor to Main Street, other than just simply existing on Main Street. During our tenure, of kind of more modern day Main Street, we've lost a lot of those older wood frame buildings, and we're left with what we've got, and we don't have much to work with. This building in particular is actually in great shape, and that always comes with a caveat that is old. It does have issues, but in terms of being appropriate for business use, for its ability to be retrofitted into something that could support life on Main Street, it has a ton of potential. I'm not saying that this demo review takes away any of that potential. It probably just prolongs that next step to hopefully a preservation effort of the building, which certainly would still be on the table despite the work that may move forward with these windows. I'm encouraged that we're only talking about the windows and not necessarily the previous design that was proposed, which was a larger project, as I understand it, and would have maybe limited more that ability for the building to be preserved as a landmark structure in downtown. I agree with Peter. While this is not a historic district, it is. It is one of our more important historic districts, one that we, in all of our documentation, all of our language, we covet our downtown environment. And so our focus around downtown buildings, what little we have, this needs to be considered with a lot of effort. I understand that the owner is not interested at this time in landmarking. Obviously, we just went through a hearing where similar circumstances applied. However, the efforts made for that project versus this are significantly different. And so I'm mostly speaking as appeal to hopefully who's ever listening, that there are enormous opportunities for this building financially and from a tax credit basis to be a landmarked commercial holding with a significant impact that it could have on life in Louisville's Main Street. So my appeal is more to consider this in the future for something of a very deserving preservation effort and do the most minimal amount now if that effort is not going to be taken currently. So thank you very much. I'm assuming I went over my 3 minutes, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments before we bring it back for discussion? All right. So we have commission discussion now. And I actually did have one question. I think staff said that the applicant is not the homeowner or not the property owner. Is that what you said, or?
That's correct. The applicant did receive authorization from the property owner, but they are currently occupying the space for their business as an office space. So
Okay.
they might be able to speak more to that relationship in terms of the level of effort that they want to put into the facade.
Right.
With that context.
Right. I think that does give good perspective on a lack of investing, like, because if they were to landmark and go through the whole everything, that would be a much bigger investment on a property they don't actually own. At the same time, just making sure that the landowner, the property owner, is aware of maintaining things for the future landmarking, I think is important too. So we can kind of talk about that as far as any changes or whatever. So we'll bring up for discussion. And I think in general, I'm thankful that they're only doing windows in the same window openings and just siding repair and replacement as needed. I think that this is the most minimal repairs and changes to the building that they could do, and it still allows for future like they could bring back the windows that were original if they wanted, and this wouldn't necessarily hinder that. So that I'm in favor of. But that's kind of my initial conversation or thoughts, is just the original openings and mainly just maintenance, I think, that's due. So
piggybacking on what Linda was sharing, I'm curious as to whether there might be an opportunity to, during the process, to do a little bit of documentation. If they're going to remove and replace some of the existing siding and remove and replace the windows, we might gather a little bit more information about what's there during the process, if the property owner is open to that.
Yeah, staff can ask for sure.
And does the property owner know that they could be eligible for the HSA, like no strings attached? Were they aware of that? Because that's something, again, the applicant wouldn't really care about, but the property owner might.
Yeah, and I might defer to the applicant to comment on that, but Emily and I did meet with the applicants to discuss the whole program, and the property owner has been involved in providing photos as well. So the applicant does seem to be, the property owner does seem to be aware of the program as well, but that's something that I can follow up on as well with him directly. And if the applicants want to chime in on their level of awareness at this point too, that would be helpful.
Because that could just help document the building, but then also just give them an idea of kind of the future, if that's something they want to pursue or if they're happy with going this route.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be low commitment, so.
Yeah, I think there's a great opportunity to hopefully try and educate the property owners. It doesn't sound like they might be fully aware of what we have to offer. And as we discussed previously, come the first of the year, there's going to be some significant increases in our grant funding, especially with commercial projects, that I think we should try and make them aware of. I would propose a stay. I don't know for how long, but at least long enough to try and get in front of the property owners and just make sure they're fully aware of what can happen.
I agree with Marty. I also think that what they're proposing to do is minimal, but it is in need of some TLC right now. But I would like to have some time and try to put more information in front of the actual owner of the property and have some discussions. So I don't know whether I feel there's a need for a 6-month stay, or once again, I want to put out there the idea of a shorter stay to possibly get some communications going directly with the owner.
And it looks like the applicant does have their hand up now, so I was gonna let them speak. If you'll just say your name and then city of residence for the record.
Yeah, this is Justin Wood. The city residence is Lafayette, Colorado. So currently we are doing a lease to own with Steve Williams. He's very aware of all the historic guidelines. He's been here for a long plans are now to sell it to us, and we're aware of them as well. And that's why we just want to do the least amount of work we can do right now to kind of make it look really nice for the community. But down the road, you know, we might have different plans on what we want to do to make it look like the buildings surrounding us, which is Waterloo, and then the one that Tebow is currently remodeling. So currently all we wanted to do was just make it more pleasant to look at without doing anything to jeopardize how it looks currently.
That's super helpful information, so thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, and I think the general consensus from what I'm hearing from us, and then also just the public comments we've had, is this is a significant building on Main Street, and I think probably gets overlooked because of its condition, but it could be a really, really great property. It has a lot of potential. Looking back at the original photos, like it was a really, really unique and great building for our street. So yeah, hopefully applicant sees that as like definitely a building worth investing in at some point, and letting us partner with you to do whatever we can to get that back as like I think it gets overlooked a lot just because it just kind of blends in or disappears amongst some of the other properties. So to actually bring it out and have people appreciate it more would be amazing. So
my worry with allowing the demolition, with approving the demolition request now and making the changes which certainly would make the building look better in the short term. But my worry is that sort of deferring, you know, almost encouraging deferring restoring the building, you know, putting in new windows mainly. That's a pretty big project relatively. And, you know, once those are in, there's maybe hesitation to do, you know, preservation, which would remove those new windows anytime soon. You know, as we've stated, there's come January, there will be quite a bit more incentives for commercial buildings. And the owner of the property sounds like it's a longtime resident, certainly is aware of our program, but our program will be changing quite a bit and might not be aware of those. It would be great to have an HSA on this property at a minimum. And then, you know, to educate the homeowner or the commercial owner about what we can offer to, you know, do improvements that could make it even more, as sort of as mentioned, like outward facing to the community. So it doesn't get overlooked. So it becomes, you know, something that people notice and then can help the economic vitality of downtown and of the current occupant, their business there.
Yeah, I just feel like, I think it's great that they're wanting to replace the windows, but just to take it that next step, if they were willing to bring it back to the original storefront design with the high transom windows, I think the additional cost could potentially be offset by the grant monies available to them if they were to go that route. I don't know if it's more of a timing thing, if the windows can't wait that long to be replaced, but I would agree with Chrissy that at the very least we should get an HSA done, and then hopefully try and persuade them to landmark. I would be in favor of putting a stay just long enough to have those discussions.
I think I would be in favor of the stay simply for the HSA conversation. I agree that the investment in the windows could prolong any kind of major restoration or to the original. However, at the same time, some of that also depends on how the applicant is using the building, because those windows that exist now in their shape and form might be more conducive to how they're using the building, if that makes sense, as far as privacy or whatever. And so I think that's the only, I guess, as far as the ownership rights of usage and stuff, like it makes sense that they might want and need to keep the openings as is right now in the current state, and we don't know that, but we should just consider that they might not be in a position where they can either financially or just realistically for the building design go to that in the near future. But I think the HSA would be something worth having the conversation for. We could still talk about all that stuff with them also. I think those are additional conversations to have. But I think before the building gets altered too much, it would be great to do an HSA, have that conversation of doing the HSA. So that'd be my kind of reason for the stay, would just be for the HSA. And it looks like the applicant has his hand up again. So you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. I think there was just some misunderstandings when we did send the window package. They do show a high transom on the windows in the front, which does make it look a little bit older, more like the original. So I didn't see it when we looked through that, the agenda, but our windows do show a high transom in there.
But is the actual window opening the same size as the?
It's bigger.
It is bigger. Okay, so it would be changing.
It looks more like the originals. Yeah, it looks like a bigger storefront window.
Okay. But not the width and same openings as the older photos.
Correct. Same width, but they're about a foot higher, well, lower. So that it looks more kind of what it did look like.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, I mean, we do respect putting a stay on it. The reason we just, obviously we don't want the stay is just so we can get the work accomplished, because again, we're not really interested in doing the historic right now.
Mm-hmm.
All we really want to do is just replace the side pieces of trim that are around the building that are almost falling off, and then repaint it. And then the windows, that's really what we're trying to do, is make it more presentable. And then down the road, you know, we're always open because we are, you know, we've all grown up in Louisville our whole lives, everyone that's part of my team. So we do want to do what we can to, you know, keep it historic looking. And we did have a different agenda that we were going to push that way back. And right now we just want to concentrate on the borders of the trim and kind of giving it a paint touch up in some windows.
And would you be open to having the historical, having this basically the HPC pay for the historic structural assessment?
We would. I mean, it's just the timing that we're trying to get. You know, we're good with the SA doing what they need to do. We kind of want, you know, the time frame to be pretty quick.
Okay.
Is there a way for us to parcel this out a little bit? The trim doesn't seem problematic. You know, repainting trim, so it has a refresh, replacing trim, and then repainting. It seems like the windows are the bigger hang up. Even the cedar redoing the awning, that's not maybe as problematic. So is there a way to parcel some of this out, and like hold on the windows and also work with the applicant to consider the HSA?
Yeah, and our biggest concern with that is you really can't paint until we do the windows, just because it would be double the work. I mean, we would be willing, we can store the windows here and we could always, you know, look at putting them back, you know. I mean, our biggest thing with windows, it's going to make it look a lot better, but they're also a lot more energy efficient. You know, those windows are just old, they freeze up, you know, they're just cold to touch. They're just not very, very good for the economy, or not the climate, but the climate. You know, I mean, they're very old and very bad shape. But, you know, we always do respect your guys' decision, and, you know, we appreciate listening to what we have to say.
All right. I saw Peter Stewart have his hand up also, but now it's down. Did you still want to say something, Peter?
Yeah, sure. If you allow me, I know I might be a little bit out of turn, but I was encouraged by the applicant's suggestion of doing a window with a transom, but it's really unclear. You know, we don't have a drawing to look at right now or what that would look like, and if we could get those windows to look replicate maybe what was historically accurately based on the historic photos, then to me that might be an avenue for releasing the permit or the demolition permit faster if those windows matched up a little bit better.
And there was a photo in our report that shows the transom. Could staff pull that up just for the meeting? And I guess
I believe it's just a one window with a transom, if I remember correctly. There's no elevation or anything else. I'm stuck on kind of the same setup for this whole facade. Is I think now it's probably 3 versions into a copy of a copy of a copy, and it's a shadow of what it was. I would say even if we're going back towards a window and a transom above, I don't know if it's quite capturing the feel and elements that I would hope. However, it's probably moving in a right direction. Again, just seeing the one window like that, or I can't remember if there's even I'm sure there's a quantity on there, quantity 6. So it looks like they're trying to open it up a little bit, and I think it'd be a move in the right direction. I would be a little discouraged to not see it move more towards more of a historic setup that would blend in. Now, whether or not you do the trim details or anything else around the rest of the building that that match some of the historic setup, to be debated. But I'm kind of getting hung up on just not seeing the elevation a little bit, not knowing what we're getting into, and so I think the ambiguous nature of it obviously makes more of a conversation out of it versus just seeing what it is. I also would say that if you're going to replace windows now, regardless of any setup, that this will not be revisited for another 25 years. Minimum.
Can we look at the photos again of the original and what's existing now?
Oh, sorry, 1 second. There we go.
Yeah, the huge window front of this building and from the original is such a cool front. Like, it'd be amazing just to go back to that, but
It's not
like
not rolling
your
back. We're gonna go back a few slides.
Go
I
back.
would say, you know, just being on the architectural side of things, the scale and proportion are just off from, you know, it, like I said, it's almost like a copy of a copy. And now I appreciate that, again, it's a move in the right direction, but that would be my drawback from it.
Mhm.
Are we able to see those original photos? A couple slides back.
These are the only ones I have. Is
I
this-
think you're talking about the 1948 assessor's photo that was
Oh,
in the
that-
packet, like the original photos
Yeah.
Oh, like you
Side
want
of the building.
of the building. Yeah.
you want to see them in the packet?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, 1 second.
Yeah, I believe it was just a few slides up.
Oh, I think it's in the staff report.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, this one. This one.
There, yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Those
yeah.
are the first two. Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's basically like from the front, it's 2 over or under 3 transom. And then of course there's but then I think what's hard is that like going back to this would be a major undertaking.
Right.
And it would
Yeah.
include that like new entrance and
Mhm.
awning. I mean, it'd be a major, that's a major undertaking. So
Yeah.
there's no easy way just to replicate just the windows in here.
Right.
But I think too, obviously the new window is taller than the existing window, but it's still probably not as big as these openings. So it's not gonna, it's not gonna necessarily like mess up the architectural structure so that it can't be opened up to this at some point if the applicant wanted to.
Can
But
we see
that's-
that? Can we see the picture again of today?
Right below it. Yeah.
Just
Oh, yeah, right there.
yeah,
Mhm.
that-
Can you split them and show them together?
I don't
Sorry.
think so. Well, let me try.
Yeah,
I'll
you
go
got
back
it.
for-
Just go down slightly.
Hang on. Do you mean like show
Oh,
them?
maybe just,
There you
yeah,
go.
there you go.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe Dave, I'm sorry, the applicant, is it Dave?
It's Justin. You're not.
Justin, okay. It says Dave Abel, so I was confused on that one. But how much taller are the new windows? I got a little confused in that discussion. Are they gonna fit in those holes that are gonna exist once you pop these existing windows out? With the new Marvin windows you're purchasing with the transom fit, or you're gonna be cutting a larger hole to put in slightly larger windows?
Yeah, great question. So we'll actually, if you're looking at that blue picture, how it looks today,
Yeah.
we're gonna be cutting it down about a foot to try to achieve the picture that's above it. You can't do that leaving the height that it's at now, because on the inside of this building, they did a false ceiling, so they dropped all the ceilings down below where those windows sit now.
Okay.
So, yeah, it would be a very huge undertaking to make it look like that, because you'd be staring into basically an attic where those
Right.
transoms sit now, because they
Mhm.
lowered all these ceilings to 8 foot inside here. But to try to keep, you know, we did see that picture, and that's what we were trying to make it look like without doing a ton of work right now. And just to clean it up, you know, we said, okay, we can do the transoms, we can repair all the siding that's that white siding that's going around, that's the fascia we're talking about replacing. And then just any of the, I don't know, I think he did James Hardy, which is that blue color. Just replacing any of those that are cracked and then repainting it is really what we're trying to accomplish. So we did take that picture above, and that's kind of the inspiration that we were trying to achieve without being able to put the windows up, but we could drop them down a foot.
So that they'll be the exact size, but just drop down a foot, so the header's dropping down a foot.
I think the window heads would stay the same and they would get closer to the floor.
Correct.
Oh, I see.
They need to fit underneath that
Mhm.
gabled entry.
Mhm.
And one thing too that we can offer, and it like kind of with or without the stay, but it would kind of be the purpose of the stay too, is to have one of our HPC architects kind of help navigate some of those design pieces. I guess that would be a question for the applicant also of, would that be something that would be helpful if you had kind of some help with that at all?
We did do a lot with our architects that we were gonna, we were looking to do a whole brick building is what we were gonna do with it. Kind of keep the same exact layout of the facade, but make it all brick. And then we kind of just went back to this, to doing the siding to kind of make it the easiest way forward, right, for everyone right now. It's not a fix that we do want for 25 years. But we just wanted it, really the quickest path forward is what we were looking for right now. Because we thought about that picture that's above, that we could kind of make it look like that and put that little 2x2 vent, and then kind of do those little details and do the details below it. We thought, we could do stuff like that, but we didn't really want to complicate this portion of it. When going forward, we would like to work with people and kind of do it the right way, but right now we just want it to kind of match the buildings that are surrounding it, which look really nice. But it's not our intention to fix the windows and just keep it like this.
Long term.
Right, long term.
Yeah.
When you were first talking, it shorted out a little bit. Did you say you're the tenants now, but you're buying this property from the current owner?
Correct. So we're basically doing like a lease to own with him right now.
Gotcha.
But we have gone through, and he's very familiar with it. And even when we were going through purchasing with him, he actually gave me all the historic guidelines, paperwork. So he gave that to us. So, I mean, he's very familiar with it all.
Yeah, and that's one of the benefits with doing the HSA. I know it could potentially hold up the project a little bit, but the information would be so thorough and helpful with where all the window openings and structural things are on the inside of the building and walls. And I mean, it seems like it would be definitely worth your while just to have that information and again have the the Historic Preservation Fund actually pay for that would be very insightful. But because I think that's the heart of our commission is partnering with property owners, because we know the buildings are old, they're confusing, and we're willing to come alongside and kind of share some of that financial burden. And the HSA is like one of the most powerful tools as far as knowing what you're getting into, and how the window replacement might lead to something larger that you might not have expected. But if you had the HSA, you'd kind of have a better understanding going into the project in the first place. Because I think most people a lot of our applicants have found a lot more things in a project than they anticipated. So, so that's kind of one of my concerns too, is the HSA would just make a lot of sense potentially.
Yeah, and we do respect that. We do have structural drawings as well as how the windows would be constructed. There's not much changes to be made really because the headers aren't changing. If the headers were going up, we'd probably have a little bit more issues, but with the headers staying where they are,
yeah,
we're only cutting a little bit out of the bottom. I think our biggest thing, we were really hoping to be done by the holidays because the parade, we always like that to be, we wanted it to be cleaned up by then. But also, I mean, our ultimate goal is, and that's why we did pull it back from the brick building that, it didn't really fit these pictures as we kind of dove in some more, and then Steve gave us some pictures of it being older. We're not opposed to trying to make it look like that, just not right now.
Yeah, I think
it's kind of a hodgepodge where they just kind of, there is like 4 different renditions, and it feels like the one it is now is kind of the worst one that they left it with. So it would take quite a bit of work to get it kind of back to where we'd like to see it. But right now we just want to make it respectable.
Yeah, I think what Linda was getting at is the HSA might uncover that there's existing headers that are higher up in there that you could get up to, or anything else. Like there's some other investigation like that could go on there. It's my opinion that if we were going to do a stay, it'd be just the absolute minimal one, just to get in front of somebody a little bit more. But I don't know if I'm in favor of that. I think we've kind of beat this one up a little bit. I feel that the client is looking to use the same headers, some other stuff. I would implore them to do the HSA, and I would say, postpone for a second. You could still get it done within that time frame that you're looking for parades and anything else coming through. But is it worse or is it better? Is it all the way back? No. I don't know, open to the other people's suggestions.
I'm in general inclined to agree with what Josh was expressing, in the sense that a lot of this sounds like pretty basic and non-invasive maintenance, just to spiff things up and make it look respectable, as the applicant described. I have a hard time feeling like anything more than a really minimal stay would make sense, and that's really just to capture a little bit of time to do something like an HSA and just gather information.
And I think I would even be in favor of no stay, because it is minimal. It's maintenance, it's reversible, all those things. And I think even if the applicant were to do these things, they could still apply for an HSE while that's even being done. It's not going to change anything as far as the building. So I think that's the work that they're proposing wouldn't inhibit an HSA still happening next month or 3 months or, next year. So I think that's my, I do appreciate the urgency that they have as far as wanting to make it presentable and like maintain what is there. So I don't want us to necessarily like delay that, and I think that sounds like the applicant having with plans to buy it, all that, and it sounds like they appreciate the original. I think there's definitely some conversation that we can still have with them, and that these changes aren't going to prohibit anything that happens in the future. Like we can still, the building's been changed enough that it's gonna take a lot to take it back, and we can still do those changes back if we need to, even with these proposed replacements and fixes, so that's mine.
I just feel it's a missed opportunity. I feel like it's unrealistic once they put the new windows in and fresh paint, new siding, whatnot, that, like Josh mentioned, we'll ever see it again unless it changes hands, ownership. But that's their right. And as you mentioned, Linda, they can move forward with an HSA after they replace these windows. So I guess I would probably lean now towards not putting a stay on it.
Lean that way as well. Again, Marty, I respect your opinion on that one. I think it is somewhat correct. I mean, you're going to try to ride out the longevity of the windows and the finish and the paint and everything else. Like it runs into that. And I would encourage the applicant and the owner and to go back and read some of the public comments towards this structure and just kind of the sentiment that came with it. It was a beautiful building. It's not, it's probably towards the, least aesthetically pleasing version it's been, but I think that some of the things they are doing will improve it a little bit. I understand where they're coming from, and it's not like they're tearing down the front facade where you're losing all opportunity, where I would definitely be in favor of stay. So I would lean towards no stay with a plea to the applicant and the owner to, again, please revisit.
Is there, just trying to think of some options to help make sure that the applicant and owner are getting a lot of great information, which the HSA would provide and paid for through our committee. Could a stay be put on with the caveat that there's only a stay until we receive the application to do a HSA, and the money's being either paid directly or not being required to be reimbursed, so that if the applicant goes ahead and gives approval to do an HSA on behalf of the owner, then as soon as that application is turned in, the stay is released?
I kind of wonder if you could run them concurrently if you're talking that way. I mean, again, if we're looking to really move forward with anything, you have windows to order, you have a lead time on them, you have other stuff that's going on there. So in the meantime, I don't know if you could make them a concurrent condition of it. They go to get forward at the same time, while the HSA has to be completed before any demo happens, possibly. I'm just thinking out loud here.
And I think they'd have to apply for an HSA, like a probable cause. I don't know how process works official, like
Sure.
how official it has to be, but I would imagine they would have to like apply for a probable cause and get the HSA approval and all those steps. So that's the only thing, is it would be kind of, they definitely have the time to do it, but it'd be a little like time prohibitive. The other thing is if they do this work and then they decide that they actually want to change something else, they would still have to come to us again at some point. So once this work is done, it's not like we'll never see them again, if that makes sense, because the building is still there. And so if they wanted to go back to the original, or if they wanted to do brick or anything major, we would get another demolition review. And so I think there is that checks and balance on our side, that this isn't the last time we're going to see it if the applicant decides to make changes in the future. So that doesn't necessarily it looks like the applicant has his hand up again too. So if you want to
Yeah,
say
I just
something.
wanted to jump on that point. I think that's kind of the exact route we were trying to take, is to just kind of redo it like they did in 2011, where they refixed this, they redid the siding and kind of cleaned it up so that it would be available down the road. Because the path we were gonna go was why the facade looked the same, it was brick. So that's why we did take the step back to just kind of clean it up now and leave it open to discussion. When we do, fix it to either look like that picture above or kind of just see what happens downtown.
As far as the board, is there any other conversations here?
Sure. We're just gonna, yeah, that's fine. You can totally say something if you'd like.
I just seemed like we kind of went silent on that one, so just seeing if anybody else had another opinion.
Yeah, this is not a straightforward by any means decision.
Do we have all the information we need with this application for demolition, or do we need to have elevations that match the scope of work we're talking about to properly review this request?
I don't, if I'm unmuted, I'm not sure that we need another set of elevations. They're using the existing headers. If you look at the width on the windows, they're probably 27 inches is my guess. So I really don't think, as far as I understand, they're not looking to change any header size. They're just going to change the sill size and do a mini replica of the older structure and older window setup, and then try to improve and just refresh the front facade. So I don't think it's a big stretch. As far as I saw in there were 6 windows. There's 6 windows on the front. So it's not a hard visualization, I don't think, on this front facade for me, now that we've talked through it a little bit.
It looks like there are windows on the inside, but if they're just doing 6, it sounds like they're not replacing the ones on the entrance, little entryway.
I could be wrong, but I thought that's what I saw.
Yeah, so 6 windows.
Well, speaking for myself as an architect and Josh as well, it's easier for us, I think, to visualize the scope of work.
Probably.
I don't know if it'd be more helpful for the rest of you to see an elevation. I always think having some drawing to show scope of work is important.
Is that not standard operating procedure with the demolition review, that there are some more drawings, more details, so we know what we're saying is okay?
I don't know that it's a requirement. I think it just depends on the scope of work. But we've seen several examples where just a couple windows are being replaced in a residence, and we see the elevations before and after to compare.
I think this one is easier to visualize simply because the width is the same, the header is the same, and so it's just dropping them down. I think that's, at least for me, kind of an easy visualization. And then it looks like even the distance between the outside windows and the edge of the building looks pretty similar to the original too. So I think, and that again, I don't think we're going to lose a lot of architectural integrity by doing this, especially compared to what's already been done. So I personally can visualize it. I think always it's amazing if we can get renderings and very clear visuals. But I think this is pretty straightforward, and it looks even like, based on the original photos, those windows also went low, and just visually it probably looks like it's going to be pretty similar to where those were originally as far as where it's dropping down to. So
I would say, unless anybody has any other objections, I would make a motion to approve the demolition permit request for this property. Sorry, I'd give a little more information with this one if I had it all in front of me. It's a little different having my iPad be the item that we're on this evening.
well, it might just be that no one's seconding you. It might not be a lack of information.
I'm just still having a feeling like, why is this being rushed all of a sudden? This property's been like this for decades, if I understand correctly. And having the time to do an HSA, thoroughly look at this, and potentially help the applicant better invest their dollars. And, both of us get what we're headed towards is the same goal. It sounds like from the applicant that they would love to make it look even more, but they want to do it quicker. I understand, but whenever I feel like something's being rushed, I just feel like, I don't know, something goes wrong when it's try to make a decision right now because it's a quick and easy lipstick. We know the rest of that.
Would you want to put a stay on it then? It sounds like.
But I'm in favor of putting a stay on it if we can have some sort of contingency that the stay is either the full 6 months or we have a chance to look at historic assessment. Historic assessment is completed, and hopefully, maybe we make it less and say, to help speed along the process of getting the application turned in, the stay could be placed with the caveat that it's released as soon as the HSA is completed, or 6 months. So it's kind of giving a little bit of a carrot to hurry up and get the application in instead of hurry up to start doing stuff that's kind of jumping the cart before the horse. Exactly.
I'm hesitant to approve the demolition request. I think if we allow it now and the windows go in, then even if this property, certainly would come in front of us again, like Linda said, for any other changes to the facade. Once those windows are in, I think it just kind of, limits what will be done in the future to the property. So I would be in favor of a stay I would like to see an HSA done to learn more about the property. I think it's great that the applicant is leasing to own. And, I think it's great timing with our grant program, raising the amounts for commercial properties. So I would really love for the applicant to have the opportunity to learn more about that. And, as we kind of said, I'm not one of the architects on the committee, but I've learned from this committee a lot about, what goes on with these older buildings, and a lot of unexpected things can come up in any sort of work that's done to it. So, learning soon about a property that you intend to own, learning all that's going on with that property, and then learning how our program can help shore up structural things, all sorts of things to make that building more usable, I think is really beneficial to everybody who's here tonight.
Could we release the portion that refers to the siding repair and paint and just put a stay on the windows?
I think that's
Say it's a 1-2. It's a sequencing of events.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're going to run into. You would pull the trim, you replace windows, you do all of your waterproofing and stuff there, and then you put trim back on, and then you would go through that. So it would be bringing a painter out twice, putting trim up multiple times. It probably won't go that route.
All right, yeah, I get that. It's more just giving the owner or the applicant options if what they're after is to spiff it up as quickly as possible. It gives them the choice.
Now it looks like the applicant has his hand up again.
Yeah, just in closing, just so we can kind of, because I know you guys are voting on it, and I think I just want to reiterate the point with the windows is I think the windows we're picking are starting us in the right direction for doing it in the future. Like the windows are already going in the right direction to make it look historic like it was. So I think that we're starting that, and that was the fastest way that we could at least get the windows going there while we work with architects and do HSA, and then, you know, on a bigger picture, come together and try to make it look more historic on some detail on whether it was the first picture, the second picture, the third. But the windows get us to that, at least the starting point. No matter how we kind of design in the future, the windows are kind of the foundation of it. So thank you.
My comment on what you just said was I don't agree with that. I don't think putting windows in that have a similar look but are different size, and we don't know enough about the different transitions that's happened over the years. It may not be putting us further into, like, using it as the word he said, it's the foundation of the whole project. Well, if they're, again, the wrong thing for the historic preservation of that property, it's not done anything to get us moving in the right direction. It's created a more efficient window, and I appreciate that for energy reasons. And I appreciate that the applicant's willing to put money in at all at this point, not being an owner of the property. But once again, I'm concerned, and I think it's kind of along what Peter and Josh were both saying, that are we just throwing some other stuff in there that's kind of the theory of Disneylandish of, all right, make it kind of look historic, but it's not really what the history of this building was. We want to find out what was the history, and then we want to help get to that end. And it's not our role to try to find ways to make it as expedient as possible to make some changes. The 6-month stay that's an option is our only real tool to try to help get to the historic preservation of the historic building.
I think one reservation I have too is that even if we put a stay on it, the stay can expire and they can do whatever they want also. So like being mindful of that. I think just the relationship with the applicant, we just want to kind of keep in mind as far as partnering and making sure that because I think the applicant hears our concern as far as the importance of the building, the potential of the building. But there's also a lot on their side as far as financial. The drop ceiling, it sounds like, might not be feasible right now if we were to take the windows up this high. There's just a bunch of questions. So I think an HSA makes the most sense, and I would be okay with a short stay, just enough to allow that to happen. But I think anything too long and just kind of being too restrictive in a way that our program is voluntary. We just want to kind of tread lightly with how we kind of move forward with it, if that makes sense, as far as how we handle the stay. I mean, I think ideally, in a perfect world, I would like say, let's release it. And then the applicant would say, and I want to do an HSA at the same time. And like everything would kind of happen at the same time. And then before they make any major decisions of, you know, we're doing this, they at least have an educated decision. And worst case scenario, they do the windows, they invest the money, but we can change it later and they end up having to spend extra money to replace those windows. You know, that seems kind of like a low stake, but they still have the relationship with us to know that we ideally would love to go back to the original, but I think the HSA would help us know what that even looks like feasibly, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I think a stay is reasonable for sure to have that conversation for the HSA, but I think having a full stay of 6 months feels a little, or even like a 6 month stay unless you get an HSA, and then it just kind of seems a little
Blackmail.
I was going to say restrictive, but it's your
adults over here.
So I just want to make sure that we have a more partnering attitude about it, because it sounds like the applicant has good intentions and, you know, appreciates what the building's potential is and the community, all that. I think that's there. So I just don't want to potentially close doors that they might be more open to. Obviously, I think like spending the money on the 6 windows and then taking them out, you know, in 5 years or whatever, seems like kind of wasted money. But at the same time, doing a full, you know, if they did all the windows just like the original, that's a big expense right now. And maybe, you know, maybe doing this financially is more reasonable and then adding that to the final cost with grants or whatever. So anyway, those are just my 2 cents, but we do need to figure this out tonight. So anyone has a motion?
Again, I don't think this is not a design review on this portion. So I will say that out of all of this, I understand and I respect where everybody's coming from. And if you want to put a short stay on it, I would not be in favor of any more than about a month or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think that, again, we want the relationship, and this is not a design review. Like, it's just, I understand we all have an opinion and we want it to be back to a certain point, but that's not what the tools in our tool belt have for us to use. Mm-hmm. So if you're having an issue with that, I think you need to look at the tools in the tool belt. And is it historic districts or anything else? Like, I think there's some other discussion here. I don't think it's this. And so therefore I do feel like if you're going to put a minimal stay on it, it's in good faith of trying to get an HSA done, which really more than likely will not run into large amounts of cash on the other side. Again, we are in the process of upping those amounts right now. So where it sits, I would have to defer, but there's a lot of factors here. And I really think that you guys have to understand that this is not that's why I'm urging them to look at these other images to bring it back to there. If you have a drop ceiling, you could do some sort of a obscured upper windows or something else. It doesn't have to reveal what's going on the inside necessarily. And so I do implore them to, again, look at the history, look at what the possibilities are. And I would say it would be my preference to go down some other route like that. However, that being said, I just don't think that this is something to sit. It's not a major change on what's there right now. And I think we're getting too hung up on what we want it to be, not what we're supposed to be doing here.
I agree completely with that.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that assessment as well.
I think Keith has his hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Josh, once again, you're the voice of reason. I agree with you. And I think we had to do a motion for a 1 month stay, minimal.
As long as we all understand that a HSA is not going to be completed within one month from now.
Agree.
It's probably at least a 3-month process, minimal.
But I
Can
think
can we do any sort of approval of a probability for cause for an HSA at this moment, at this meeting, if it hasn't been requested already? And again, trying to bring some speed at which we can address this. I don't know the answer to that question.
I would recommend not doing that step and just following the code and the process and do a PC first. I'd want to check in with Rob and Jeff, but we do have a regular meeting next week. We already have the social history report prepared and we don't need public notice for PC. So could potentially bring it as early as next week, but I want to confirm. Otherwise, it could be October 18th, I believe, is the next regular meeting date.
And I think, go ahead.
Going through the process portion, and I do understand that this is an intermediate meeting right now, so that it would be much sooner, or could be sooner than the regular wait a month. I would stress that we try to get it there if that's the route we go.
And I think a month stay, again, it doesn't have to be we'll release it if, but it could at least we could do a subcommittee and just have a conversation with the applicant and just feel like we talked it through, we gave them the option, and maybe they can get in next week or next month. Like that could just be, again, just due diligence that we did it, we pleaded our case, and because I think versus, if it's 1 month or 2 months, it just kind of gets a little, it takes the just a desire from the applicant of doing it. It becomes like an obligation, it feels like. I don't know. But I think a month could be plenty for having the conversation, as long as we follow up and use the month wisely. 2 months could be fine. But again, like, that'd be like October, and is that in that relationship piece, is that helping the applicant make the changes that are gonna help downtown? Like the changes he's doing are not gonna, it's not gonna be detrimental to our downtown landscape. And if anything, it would be a benefit, even if it's not our ideal. But I think a lot of our homes that are landmarked that don't propose changes, they can landmark their home and not change anything back to the original. That's totally fine. So I think that's something to keep in mind too. Obviously, they're changing the size a little bit, but it's within the parameters of the original to some extent, but it's not, they don't, to be one of our properties or to be like a perfect landmark or potential, all those kind of things, they don't have to go back to the original. Even if it was landmark, they could just choose right now and just keep it there forever and just maintain what it looks like right now. And that would be totally fine within their parameters. So anyway, I would say I think a month is fine to have a conversation. We could do 2 months, but I don't know what we would accomplish in 2 months versus 1 month. So, but if we could get if the applicant is open and we could get it really quickly, that'd be awesome too for the HSA probable cause.
Jess, if we wanted to propose a short stay as should we look at when this application was made or when the clock has started ticking on that?
Yeah, so I think we were fine for the 60 days because you've considered it at that point. The 180-day stay, I know you're not interested in doing that, but just to give you an idea, a 180-day stay would put you at January 25th, 2026.
So if we were to do a 60-day, I guess, are we already in that? What are we kind of in is that?
That could start from today, from my understanding. because you've already considered it within 60 days before the demo has to be released.
Okay.
So it could be 30 days from today, 60 days from today.
Right, okay.
90 days from today. Okay.
Okay. So I'd like to propose a 30-day stay beginning today, during which time we'll work to meet with the applicant to explore the grants that amounts are being changed, and to look at HSA and maybe doing a probable cause if the applicant's open to that, for an HSA in the near future. That's, yeah, so I propose a 30-day stay.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we'll do a roll call for this one.
Okay, so Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Beauchamp.
Yes.
Commissioner Berg.
Yes.
Commissioner Haley.
Yes.
Commissioner Keller.
Yes.
Commissioner Whidden.
Yes.
And Commissioner Wilt.
Yes.
All right, so hopefully this made sense to the applicant. But we will reach out to you with our subcommittee and just kind of conversation for the next month, 30 days. And then staff can kind of let you know the process, but after 30 days, basically your property is released. And so, yeah, so we are very excited about this property, just that it's being taken care of and has vision for it. And so we hope that you see this as a partnership, that we are very much want to be invested in this project and property with you. So just thank you for being here. Thank you for your kind of explanations and conversation and being willing to kind of look at this with us. So we appreciate that. Do we want to go ahead and assign a subcommittee for this that would be willing to reach out and continue to build that relationship?
I would be happy to be involved, although I'm leaving town for 10 days on Wednesday.
Starting Wednesday?
Yeah.
Would you want to do it remotely, or is that an off?
Probably not, although tomorrow I could make some time.
Yeah. We can, so there's one, we can have you do it and then have a backup for if the applicant can't meet that quickly. And
Okay.
then, yeah, or a substitute, like once you leave, you can just have another person fill in. Is that acceptable? Because they're not all the same conversation at the same time. Is that fine?
Sure.
Okay. So Marty, does anyone else want to? I'm happy to if no one else wants to.
I think that's great, because I really think either needs to be someone with architectural knowledge
Mhm.
and or someone with more history and more knowledge of our commission and what we can and can't do. I'm always willing to help, but I just don't feel like I could be really,
Totally.
a huge help.
Okay. Well, Marty and I'll reach out. I mean, we could even send an email tonight or tomorrow, reach out and just see if we can meet tomorrow at some point. And then if not, we might reach back out for a second person to do it. So, okay.
I can run as backup if you need. I just have a lot of things going on here in the next few days. I'm just really.
We have a month. We have 30 days. So, okay. That's great. Thank you. All right. So Marty and I will talk offline on this and then schedule a time. And if that doesn't work out, then we can do that one. Okay. That's great. All right. And then our next item. Sorry, I lost my agenda.
Oh, 1 second. It should be staff update.
Okay, thank you. Yes, updates from staff.
And I'm just trying to switch my slide here. No big updates. Our next regular meeting is next Monday, September 15th, at 6:30 p.m. And I just wanted to say, because there were a few comments about 616 Front tonight, I have reached out to the realtor and let them know about historic preservation options, and they were aware as well. So they're marketing it that way, but they're also interested in marketing it as a commercial opportunity as well. So I'll pass it off for the next update. I left a placeholder here. We can always do a bigger subcommittee update next Monday, but if there's anything commissioners want to share now, here's an item for it.
I don't think so.
I don't see anyone.
No.
No.
All right. Our last item is to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for being here tonight. Special meeting.
Thanks, guys.
Everyone really put in the work. Thank you.